Well, good morning, everyone. It is nice to be speaking here to all of you again. Who here remembers the 10 Commandments from last time I spoke? Oh, yes. Ooh, more hands raised than asking who knew the 10 Commandments when I was there, so it was mission accomplished. All right. Well, today's teaching is going to be a little different than my last teaching, because who here knows that there's different ways people learn? Yeah. Who here learns by reading? Oh, reading. All right. Who here learns better by hands-on learning, by doing something? All right. Cool. Who here learns well by listening? Just listening to someone. All right. And how about by just watching something, watching it being done? Yeah? All right, cool. Well, I know in church we mainly focus on listening, but today we're going to start a two-part series which involves watching. So we're going to watch a little short film, half of it this week, half of it next week, and we're going to have a little bit of teaching and discussion on it and see what kingdom principles or biblical messages we can get from this film. And so it's 10 minutes long. I know that's quite a bit, and don't worry, my teaching won't be another 40 minutes after that. We should still be done on time, so you can be thankful for that. But we're going to sit back and enjoy part one of the Butterfly Circus.
Hey, look! Can we go there?
Aw, Sammy, you're breaking my heart. We're all the circus you need, kid.
But they have rides. Tell me, Mr. Mendez.
Why not? Let's go.
Okay, boys, time to get me a date with the bearded lady. Who's with me?
Great riches, come, sit down. I tell you all about your fate. Great riches, come.
They're gonna come get you now! You are my little boy. I'm gonna get you if I can!
Come on in, ladies and gentlemen. We have the best freak show in town. Mr. Pete Robinson. You got the limbless dance. Step right on in. Come on in, ladies and gentlemen. You got Baby Lulu. Mr. Pete Robinson. The limbless dance. Come on in, ladies and gentlemen. Come on in. We have the best show in town. Come on in. Come on in. We have the best freak.
Not unlike a large heifer. She's a woman of extraordinary weight. Has a peculiar appetite for whole chickens. Now, down this way. The painted man. His world travels can be seen on every inch of his body, from head to toe. And now, ladies and gentlemen, gather in. A perversion of nature. A man, if you could even call him that, whom God himself has turned his back upon. I give you the limbless man.
Look at that.
Look at Move along, kids.
You are magnificent.
Hey, get away from him!
What's the matter with you?
It's all right. No harm in it. My fault. Maybe I got a little too close. Eh, friend? You have a good evening now.
You better get a hold of yourself before the next show, gimp.
Real nice, Will. Seems you changed your mind about joining one of them fancy shows. Huh?
What are you saying?
Don't you know nothing? That was Mendes. You just spit on the showman from the Butterfly Circus. Butterfly, butterfly. You kill me, Will. I'm hungry. Go get me some cotton candy.
A man, if you can call him that, whom God himself has turned his back upon. The limbless man!
Muy bien.
Boss. Good morning.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias indeed.
It's going to be delicious.
Yes. May I have this dance? Thank you so much. Poppy.
Would you get my trunk? It's so heavy.
But it's easier for you because you're so strong. Ah! There's a dead man in the truck!
What?
Well, now, look at this. This is wonderful. Come on over by the fire, warm up a bit, little man.
I'm Sammy. What's your name?
I'm Will.
Where's your arms and legs?
Sammy.
What, Mama? Is he gonna be in our circus now?
Maybe I will.
Hold on a minute. We don't have a sideshow here.
What do you mean? Every circus has one. People come from all over the place to see us. And why do they come, Will? But yours could be different.
No. There is nothing inspiring about immense imperfections on display. See, Will, we're happy you're here. And you can stay as long as you like. But I do run a different show.
And now, one of the greatest displays of human contortion ever seen.
It is my pleasure to introduce Anna, Queen of the Air. And the strongest man you'll ever see.
master of the flying trapeze and the oldest performer in the air, Papi!
See you at the fairgrounds, 2 days only. Come on by, Butterfly Circus, 2 days only.
How do? My boy here would sure like to say hello to the strongest man in town.
Well, I'm Sugar Daddy's stronger, but I'd make a close second.
Are you in the show too, mister?
No, not exactly.
Oh.
We best be going now. Thank you kindly.
You bet.
Wow, did you see that, Dad? I'm gonna be the strongest man in the world someday. I'm gonna be just like that man. I'll lift anything I want to.
Yeah, boy, you can do whatever you want.
All right. Do you guys enjoy that so far? All right. Cool. Good. Good. Now, there's kind of a decent amount of stuff that happened in this little 10 minutes starting of the movie, and there's just a couple things I wanted to focus on. And I know that was kind of like a cliffhanger, and this teaching will probably end with a kind of a cliffhanger because the resolve is next week. So you're gonna not wanting to miss it next week. So, Will started out in the sideshow. And what was the purpose of the sideshow there? Ooh, to make fun of people, Kathy. Yeah, it was to look at infirmities and make a show out of, their flaws. And it wasn't for looking at how unique they were and how that made them special, but rather it was degrading them, seeing like, oh, you're different. That makes you less than. And that was funny to them. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and so they were seeing them with a negative look. And because of this, Will's heart had been hardened. For so long, he's been called worthless and terrible. And then, when someone finally did compliment him, said, "You are magnificent," he saw that as condescending. Did he take that as an actual compliment? No, he thought this guy was just making fun of him. He was so used to the negative that the positive basically lost all the effect. And we kind of see that in our lives too. Who here has ever been complimented before? Hopefully I see a lot of hands raised, please. Oh, that'd be so sad if no hands were raised. But yeah. But here's another question. Who here has ever shot down the compliment? Oh, you did a really good job today. It's like, well, I kind of messed this up. I didn't do that good on that. But, yeah. Or, hey, you look really nice today. I didn't have all the time I wanted on my hair, or didn't really get all the makeup done I wanted. Why do we do that? We shoot down these compliments. Yeah. Why is it so hard to take compliments sometimes? I think it's because we know our infirmities, we know our failures, and there have been times when those have been used against us, and we take those to heart, and we give that negativity power even when positivity is coming our way. And so when we hold on to that, we miss opportunity for encouragement to happen. And we don't want that. We want to be able to be encouraged. And there was a line where the guy says, "Cursed from birth, who God himself has turned his back upon." And that reminded me of a verse, John 9, 1 through 3. And that says, "As he went along," meaning Jesus, "he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, 'Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus. But this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. Yeah. So that's kind of the cursed from birth idea right there. The disciples gave that man's blindness more kind of negativity than it really even had. They said, oh, it was because of sin. It was because something they did. They gave it a negative spin. But did God make that person? Yes. And so did God make that person blind because he wanted negativity on that person? No. And so we shouldn't put that negativity on them. And if you put a negative spin on someone like that, are they going to feel really good about themselves? If you say, oh, this is because you sinned, God's punishing you because of that, do you think they're going to have a very healthy view of God either? No. And some of you, you might have had that told to you. But that's just not the truth. When we give the negative reasons more light rather than the positive, we're going to keep looking down at ourselves. But that's kind of a world perspective, looking at ourselves solely through our looks, through our attributes, what we can offer society. It's very works-based. But rather, we need to bring up instances to people. The amazing feats that Jesus did, healing the paralyzed man, the leper, the bleeding woman, people who were seen as less than in society back then, ended up being truly valuable to God. And that healing isn't what made them valuable to begin with. They were valuable at their core because God made them and loved them. But in that struggle that they had, in that infirmity, through their faith and that healing, testimony from those people are still heard around the world today. And those are testimonies that have brought people closer to Jesus. Those things that could have been seen as negative turned out being such a positive for the kingdom. And so those things that you might think, oh, I'm less than because of this, God can use that to accomplish his work. Now, after Will left the carnival, he was still in the mindset of only being worthy for a sideshow. When he brings up the idea of having one at their circus, he was still limiting himself to his imperfection because he couldn't imagine himself doing anything other than that. But Mendez said, there is nothing inspiring about a man's imperfections on display. Which is true, just focusing on the negative, on someone's flaws. Now, on Facebook the other day, I saw a video of a kid doing karate, and he had to break a board to, get his next belt. And so he's setting himself up, lifts up his foot, goes to strike it, and nothing happened. But no one laughed at that kid. They kept encouraging him, telling him that he could do it. And eventually, after a few times, he broke through that board, and his fellow classmates gathered around him and celebrated with him. Could you imagine if after he didn't break it on the first try, they all laughed at him, and he brought all the other parents and were like, hey, everyone, come look what this kid wasn't able to accomplish. That would be terrible. We need to be people of encouragement, not focusing on the negative or the flaws or mistakes people have made. We need to be focusing on the potential that people have, which people have such good potential because we are able to pursue and change things. We don't have to stay where we are. 1 Thessalonians 5:11 says, "Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact you are doing." So we need to remember that encouraging is our first call of what we should be towards people. The natural instinct of the world is to look for critique or negativity just to make ourselves look good. But we aren't supposed to be like the world. So we need to be people of encouragement. Now, after Will saw the performance at the circus, he was amazed. He was blown away. And he thought that the people were so amazing. And he was joyful for a bit at their accomplishment. He kind of felt a part of that their amazingness, he was a part of that. He was a part of their circus in a sense. But when he was promoting the show, and the kid came up to him and asked him if he was in the show, his demeanor changed. Because he was still stuck in sideshow mentality, that he couldn't be a part of that show. So he felt low again. He saw himself as where he's at, but he forgot one thing. We are all in a process. And I know the process can be tough sometimes, but it is so great being in process, because that means we don't have to stay where we're at. It means we have the potential to get better, the potential to keep growing. We're not stuck. Who's glad that we are not stuck where we're at? Woo. Yeah. But that's kind of where Will is right now. He's stuck in that mindset, thinking he's stuck where he's at. Which next week we'll see what happens. But I want to focus on the process just a little bit more with you guys today. We often look at finished products when we make our comparisons. We see people like, oh, they're great, they're wonderful, and I'll never be like that. But we're seeing them when they've already gone through that process. We're comparing with a finished product. Like let's say we're just a lump of dough on a counter, and we see a freshly baked loaf of bread, and we're like, whoa, that bread is so amazing. Oh, I'm just dough. I can never be that. But he's looking at something that's already been through the oven. Sometimes we just haven't been put in the oven yet, and made into what we need to be. But if you don't see the capacity to get there at all, you're going to stay put. And so we can't hold on to that negativity. Don't let the negativity and the past lies said about you, such as you won't be anything, such as you're cursed, you're nothing, you are a mistake. Don't let those things be what defines you. Because at your core, you were created in God's image. And at your core, you were valuable enough to die for. And once we can get our foundational value figured out, then even when we do make mistakes, those won't be the things that define us. And I know that can be hard to do because there is such negativity and high expectations all around us in the world. But if you can see your value based on Him rather than the world, then you can move on in the process. And even if you just end up loving God and loving your neighbor, you're doing what He's called you to do. I know, and we see this with Christians. They think we have to do this great, amazing, crazy thing. But the core command, the greatest command he gave you is simply to love him and love your neighbor. And I see so many people doing that so well, but they don't see themselves pastoring a mega church or going on these mission trips all the time, and they think somehow that makes them less. No, you are doing what God called you to do. You are doing the greatest commandment. So don't put those high expectations on yourself or focus on the negativity of, oh, you're not doing enough. You know, we're still being taught. And when you're still being taught things, does that mean you know things 100%? No. So we're still learning. And so let's humble ourselves a little bit, not think we're the worst thing ever, okay? Let's tone things down a bit and realize that God has made us valuable to him. Don't let the world's view of value be what defines you, one based on looks, on works, on how much you can give into society. Don't continue to see yourself stuck in that spot. And don't forget the process. And next week, we're going to hone in a little bit more on the process and like steps to take in that process to help get to a better point. But that will be next week when we see what happens with Will. But I want to pray us out today. But first, is anyone stuck in the world right now? The worldview of negativity, feeling unworthy, unloved, someone who's a failure, only used to laugh at or be looked down upon to make others feel better. Who's giving their value to the world rather than Jesus right now? Jesus saw you as worth dying for. And so with everyone's eyes closed and heads bowed, if you want a relationship with him, if you want your value to be from him rather than the world, feel free to raise your hand right now. Right. And those of you at home also, let this be your prayer. God, come into my life. Renew me. Peel off the ways and the thoughts of the world and give me a new mind that yearns for you and the ways of your Spirit. Restore my heart from the pains and negativities that have come my way, and remind me that my value comes from you and you alone. Come to my life. Amen.